What's good, all my trader and investor homies? It's your boy Kevin. This is Touchdown Trade. In today's video, we're going to be talking about a 3D printing stock that I just invested in. This stock is flat out too cheap. It's gone under the radar, even with the big push in 3D printing. Cathie Wood and Ark Invest have been scooping up a ton of 3D printing stocks. They bought up stocks like NNDM, Nano Dimensions, and sent them to the moon. But the stock we're going to be talking about today has gone under the radar. Investors haven't jumped on it yet. Ark Invest hasn't bought it yet. It hasn't been bought up with the rest of the 3D printing sector. And I think this stock is in a better position to make a big push than a lot of these other stocks are that have gone bonkers, that have gone crazy and gone to the moon. The stock we're going to be breaking down is in a better financial position than NNDM, Nano Dimensions, and they're very similar companies. But the stock we're going to be talking about is trading at 1/25th the price that Nano Dimensions is. It's just too cheap. We're getting this stock pennies on the dollar compared to its peers. I loaded the boat on this 3D printing stock, so we're going to be talking about why I bought it. We're going to be breaking down the business model, the fundamentals. We'll look at the chart and I'll give you guys my price targets and my forecast. Let's break it down. Let's get it. The stock we're going to be breaking down in today's video is ticker symbol VJET. This is VJET. It is a 3D printing company very similar to NNDM, but much cheaper, and in my opinion, a much better buy at these prices. So we're gonna be looking at the stock. We're gonna be doing an in-depth analysis. Before we get started though, check out the link in the description to the Patreon. You can join the Patreon, and every tier gets access to the private Discord chat where I send out my buy and sell alerts in real time. I sent out this VJET ticker before I bought it. I bought in at the 1780s. Currently, it's trading at 1846. So if you want to get those buy and sell orders as I send them out, you want to join the Patreon link in the description. So NNDM, let's look at NNDM real quick. NNDM went straight up to the moon. Ark Invest, Cathie Wood, they kept buying NNDM, and the stock price got hyped up as investors chased what Ark Invest was doing. I agree with Cathie Wood. I agree with the investor. 3D printing is the future of manufacturing. Originally, go look at under the hood in your car. Look at all those parts that are in any car out there right now. Originally, auto manufacturer would have to mock up a design, let's call it a wheel. They would have to mock up a design of the wheel, send it typically to China, have a prototype made in China of that wheel. The wheel would then get sent back to the manufacturer. The manufacturer would look at it. They would say, okay, we need to tweak this or we need to change that. They would send the design back, the redesign back to the prototyper, who would then send it back, and the process would take forever. With 3D printing, that no longer needs to happen. Now, these 3D printing companies can now mock up the design in-house, get the prototypes done in-house, and then get the yes or no from the manufacturer. And then it's a more streamlined process. It's an easier process, and no longer does China need to be involved. This became a big problem with the Rhinoceros Rex. When the Rhinoceros Rex hit, we started realizing that we need to shore up our manufacturing process. We cannot rely on China for manufacturing, and I think that's a big reason why 3D printing stocks have really taken off over the last few months. VJET, let's take a look at their business model. VJET is a global innovator and technology driver for advanced 3D printing solutions in industrial production environments. Here are some of the benefits of using the 3D printing. So you're optimizing costs. Wherever conventional processes reach their economic limits due to cost-intensive mold construction and changeover times, additive 3D production process offer essential economic advantages. It's cheaper than the traditional process, right? Manufacturing on any scale. VJET has the world's largest and most powerful 3D printing systems for large components or large runs of smaller components. So we're talking about state-of-the-art 3D printers that are more powerful than any 3D printing machines on the market, and we have a faster time to market. We've already talked about this. The traditional process relying on outsourcing is too slow. These manufacturers want these mock-ups, these prototypes done fast and sent back to the manufacturer. So VJET is doing something different. They're offering 3D printing on demand. So not only are they selling their 3D printers, they're offering a printing service. So let's say you're a small company, you need a prototype, you can reach out to VJET and get that prototype printed out using their 3D printers without having to buy the whole machine. I think that's gonna provide immediate revenue. Sure, the selling of the 3D printers and providing maintenance, getting that recurring revenue is going to be the path to the biggest growth, right? There's no doubt about it. But doing the 3D printing on demand can provide immediate revenue for VJET. So their business model is addressing a large and global market opportunity for additive manufacturing. They differentiate themselves by only focusing on large scale production. And I think that's important because you don't want to be hitting small orders. You want to be doing these big orders with these big customers. We'll talk about some of VJET's customers. They have some of the biggest customers in the world. The executive team, the management team, holds roughly 20% of VJET shares. I think that's very telling. That shows that the executives believe in the company. We all saw what happened with Workhorse. Workhorse executives started selling boatloads of shares right before it was announced that they did not get the USPS contract. And I'm not saying they knew that Workhorse wasn't going to get the USPS contract and they dumped their shares, but it is kind of a bad look. And I think it is a good look for VJET that the management team owns 1/5 of the company outright. In 2019, the print on demand service, so the service where a company reaches out, say they need a prototype 3D printed, and VJET uses their own printing tech to do that and send it back to them, did $12.5 million in sales. In the same year, their 3D printing sales did $15 million. I anticipate the 3D printing machine sales are gonna grow exponentially while these print on demand services just grow steadily. The future is in selling the systems, in my opinion. Look at some of these customers that VJET has. This is one of the most under the rated stocks out there, in my opinion. I was doing my weekly Sunday scan. I came across VJET. I started doing my research, my due diligence on it, and every rock I unturned, every nugget I found, I started to love and love VJET more and more. Look at some of these customers. We're talking about BMW, Volkswagen, Porsche, Ford, Hyundai, Nike, huge customers. These are absolutely huge customers that VJET can build relationships with and help to grow the company. And here's where it gets even better. The projected revenue, projected profit is insane. Right now, we're talking about a company with a $100 million market cap. Right now, they are projecting a gross margin of more than 56% in the next 10 years. That is absolutely huge. In the next 10 years, they're expecting to reach $127 million in annual revenue, as well as $73 million in gross profit. Why is that important? Right now, they only have a market cap of $100 million. This is a micro cap company. If they can hit $73 million in profit within the next 10 years, we're talking about a company that could literally 10x in value, 10x in their stock price. There's no way the gross profit should even approach the market cap of the company, right? The price to earnings ratio should never be 1, especially in a growing market, an emerging market like 3D printing. So if they can hit these numbers, we're looking at a stock price that, in my opinion, should look like this over the next few years. Here's a look at some of the 3D printed models or prototypes that they've done. So if a company's trying to prototype some new shoes, they can reach out to VJET. You're looking to prototype a part, you can reach out to VJET. Here's a insole of a shoe. So pretty much anything you can think of, if you need it prototyped, VJET can do it. Let's take a look at the Ark 3D printing ETF. So it's had a really nice run up over the last year and is pulling back. But I expect that to get bought up. When the entire market gets bought up, the 3D printing market gets bought up, I expect VJET to bounce back with it. Right now, in the RQ fund, Nano Dimensions is the 19th biggest holding. They own $71 million plus of NNDM stock. So why isn't Ark Invest buying VJET stock? Why are they buying NNDM if I think VJET is a better deal? Well, it's simple. Ark Invest can't possibly buy VJET stock. Why? Because the float is too small. VJET has a float of around 0.26 million shares, a tiny, tiny float. Okay, so even if Ark Invest wanted to buy VJET, they can't. And I imagine if it was a bigger stock, if it was a bigger company with more shares outstanding, Ark would be all over this. Let's take a look at NNDM. We'll compare it to VJET. Nano Dimensions has a market cap of $2.5 billion on sales of only $3 million, and they lost $32 million. And Ark Invest was buying it up. Ark Invest is basically saying, we know this company needs to grow, but we think it's gonna grow, so we're gonna take an investment in it. VJET, however, VoxelJet, has a market cap of $101 million. So 1/25th the price of NNDM. All right? Very similar business model, but 1/25th the price. And they have almost 10 times the amount of sales already of NNDM. So this is, in my opinion, a steal, an absolute steal at these levels. This could very easily be a billion-dollar company in the next 5 years, in my opinion. And if it does become a billion-dollar company, we're talking about a 10x from today's price. And I think that is something that could very plausibly happen. I think this company is flat out too cheap and is gonna grow with the emerging market of 3D printing. Let's wrap this up, take a look at the charts here. So right now we're trading at $18.79. We have a ton of support down here around $14, a lot of support down there. We had a ton of volume traded in that level, so I expect that area to act as support. We're consolidating right now, and I'm looking for this thing to break back out towards $30 per share. That's short term. From a long-term perspective, I'm going to put a 2-year, 24-month price target of $35 per share on this VJET stock. I think 3D printing is going to continue to see growth, and this VJET, in my opinion, is the cheapest way right now to get exposure to the 3D printing market. I love this stock, I love this company, and I think it's headed to the moon. That's going to wrap up the video, guys. I love all of you. Do me a favor and hit that like button for me. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until next time, peace.
Drop.